Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 6th of November, 2024. And spoiler alert in advance, Trump won by more than a lot of people predicted. There was cheating or cheating attempts. There were, anyways, there was a lot. I was watching it live pretty much all day. The updates on people's feeds. I was watching people like Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, Megyn Kelly, Redacted. I was watching MSNBC and seeing how they were broadcasting and televising the elections as well. And all very interesting because I don't just like to look at the right-wing media. I also look at the left-wing media. And this morning as well, Jen Psaki didn't seem really happy about the results, and but I'll get to that. So that did happen, and the swing states. It's that was very interesting to watch, and it was close at certain points, but by the end of the night, there was just too many votes that were already cast and counted that there was no way that Kamala would have been able to make up any ground in the states that she needed to win in. And I will reiterate, there's concerns with both these presidential candidates. Well, Kamala's out now; she lost. But obviously, when you compare the pros and cons of both candidates, Trump did come out a little bit on top, and it's only because of Kamala's connections to cartels, essentially the military, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, and their affiliates as well is connected to these groups. And so, but it's not as much or as disgusting as in the other case. And the whole P. Diddy list essentially was in support of Kamala and the Democrats. That should tell you something. And they're the people that fund their campaigns, like the Soros types, the Schwab types, the Gates types. For the Democratic side, that also shows you that they were investing a lot of their own money in order to make it where Trump did not get elected because of the people that he's surrounding himself with during this presidency. And so I've already mentioned names, and it's people like RFK Jr. Concerns with him, yes, he needs to step up and actually go through with all of these investigations he's alleged that he's going to conduct. Maha, making America healthy again. He talks about the pandemic. He talks about COVID, vaccines and vaccines in general. He talks about the obesity epidemic. He talks about so many things, right? And if he actually followed through and got hired in that position and actually held people accountable, like Fauci, if Fauci goes to jail, that's a good start. Okay. Clearly, with Steve Bannon, like 70 years old, going to jail for however long it was, like 6 or 9 months. Anyway, and other people going to jail in their older age, just because it's warfare going on, doesn't mean that Fauci is above that just because of his age or whatever. Hillary Clinton as well, jail. Okay, so if these things happen this time around, then people will have a little bit more hope because no one's been held accountable yet, right? We haven't had. Anyway, it is what it is. But concerns with his connections with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan because they're pushing, obviously, this outer space narrative, Occupy Mars propaganda, and like the moon landings were fake. We're not going to Mars, guys and girls. They're luminaries. They're within this contained environment, closer and smaller than we're being led to believe. And cymatics and light clearly at play. And military contractors. Yeah, anyway, I'm going on all these tangents that I've gone on before with my concerns. Trump was pushing the vaccine at the beginning. Certain Space Force. I've already talked about these things. So I do want to get on to Jimmy Dore's story because it's hilarious. And it's MSNBC's Joy Reid blames white women for Kamala losing. So, I'll let this play out.
tour will be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So Joy Reid knows who's to blame for Kamala losing. It's not Kamala and her policies of genocide. It's not Kamala and her policies of open borders. It's not Kamala and her policies of not even talking about health care or the minimum wage, or her policies of not helping the people in Flint, Michigan get clean water, or her policies of abandoning the people in East Palestine, America, or her policies of crushing a union strike.
Nope.
It's not Kamala Harris for sure. You know whose problem it is? I wonder if Joy Reid can find a way to make it a racist statement. Let's see. I bet she can.
It's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and a thought that defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe
She's talking about North Carolina
had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why.
Why?
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris.
Black voters are good. Problem. Who's the bad people?
White women voters did not.
White women.
That is what it appears happened in that state.
Let's make it about race. White women, stupid white women. How about the black woman who's committing a genocide? Does she have any responsibility in this? How about you, who didn't pressure her to change her policy? How about that? How about her who crushed a railroad union strike, or didn't bring clean water to the people in Flint, or helping the people in East Palestine, America?
Is that if you can't flip white women, and we talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for
effing white women. I think I just for the first time realized the irony of them calling it women's reproductive rights.
Yeah.
It's actually women's unreproductive rights. You're not fighting for them to be able to reproduce. You're fighting for them to be able to not reproduce. Is that wrong? What I'm saying, that just smacked me right in the face when she said that. Oh, the women's reproductive rights. They're not reproductive. They have the right to reproduce. Let's be precise with our language.
I like unreproductive
And by the way, they have the
rights.
right to unproduce up until 12 weeks in North Carolina. So that's 3 months.
That's reasonable, ladies and gentlemen.
So they still have the unproductive rights up until 3 months. Anyway, she has more to say about white women. Goddamn white women.
And this is controversial, but you're on my channel, so there shouldn't be any surprises with that. But people should be focusing on tracking periods better. Like I just don't understand. Like, please explain this to me. But how a woman could go multiple months without knowing she's pregnant, like your period stops. Like, so there's clearly a bigger issue here too. If you're not aware that you're pregnant when there's so many things biologically that happen with your breast swelling and getting more tender, like there's morning sickness again, like everyone's a little bit different. And then there's the your period stops, your lower abdomen area swells. Like there's just so like I don't know what's happening with the maybe there's like birth control has something to do with it. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea. Like but anyway, I don't understand.
And Harris, a fellow woman, is a second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, you know, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more, you know, party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Maybe you should tell her to go out and campaign with the Cheneys more. You don't think that helped? Liz Cheney, who lost in a historic landslide, then went out and campaigned with Kamala Harris. That didn't work. But it's those goddamn white women. She got it. Anyway, we're not supposed to comment on her. I like. You're not supposed to comment.
No, zip it.
I'm not commenting.
You know, you can't.
I'm not.
As a white man.
As a white man, I'm not commenting. But she could certainly. Can you imagine going and say, it's the blacks. They're not coming through. Whites are doing great. Just imagine if you said something like that. And they all just sit there and don't say a word. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, you can flip it in any kind of culture, and you could say those Mexicans.
And you know what's really annoying about actually
Freaking
That's
Mexicans.
the reason, those Mexican again.
But it's not the candidate. It's never the candidate's fault. Is it?
how is this not, because MSNBC like it does have like a leftist viewership, and there are extreme leftist radicals that are losing it, you know, and I want to watch more of that today. Lefties losing it. But how is that not inciting hatred and violence towards white women? Like that's what I mean, like the hypocrisy of this. And they don't understand with such a large platform with government funding for her to do that. You know, it's already fueling a fire that's already started, and people are predicting there's going to be multiple false flag operations happening, and planned events going against people that voted for Trump in many areas, like as a punishment or retaliation, whatever you want to call it. This has been predicted now for months, if not years. But and it's just going on to like the assessments of protests, and just in the last 4 years alone, like even with the George Floyd protests, and don't even get me started on that. And yeah, just like never held accountable for words.
Isn't that amazing? It's never the candidate's fault.
It's not their policies.
It wasn't Hillary Clinton's fault.
And white women. And maybe I'm just in an echo chamber right now, or like I'm like my algorithms are such where like I'm just reinforcing my own biases. But on the left and the right, white women have gotten so much hate, and it's just I don't understand why. Like even like with people on the right, like making fun of women, saying that you know voting for pretending that they're voting for Trump and voting for Kamala, or anyway. Or like the suburbia Karen housewives, like making fun of them, saying that they were going to vote for Kamala because so many different things, right? And I did think there was going to be a higher voter turnout than there was in suburbia, and so I am so happy that that the elections turned out the way they did. Again, I'm not saying that Trump, there's not concerns with him. There is, but I mean with the people that is in his corner now. Like I was saying before with in previous videos with Charlie Kirk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're both flat earthers, and they've come out and alluded to that fact even in the last couple of weeks. So I don't know how long they've been in that group, but I was saying they would be speaking directly to the president, and if they could, and if he doesn't know the reality of the world, which shocked me, then I would hope that he would be open to listening to them and seeing what data they bring, and that might assist in not having some kind of a friggin' staged and planned alien invasion or some shit like that, right? And that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
The fact that she was a warmonger and an enemy of workers and an enemy of black and brown people. They passed the crime bill, which imprisoned them. as they gutted welfare and then exploded the prison population, and then also had a private deal to privatize Social Security, and they deregulated Wall Street, which led to the crash of the economy within 10 years, and black and brown people hurt the most. They never mentioned that about Hillary Clinton. And then here they don't mention anything. It's nothing about the candidate. It is not about, it's the stupid white voters. According to her, Joe Scarborough just says voters. It's always the voters.
And again,
when have you ever blamed the voters? That's a new thing. Well, since 2016. Since 2016, they blamed the voters. They never blamed the voters before that. As far as I can remember.
Yeah.
It was always what did the campaign do wrong? What did the party do wrong? What did the candidate do wrong? What should they have done more of? Oh, it's always like all the nominee has to do is show up. She's black and she's a woman. She's a black woman with a vagina. That's all she needs. You're just supposed to go do that. This is the Democrats and the establishment thinking own votes. They don't own votes. You still have to go get them, which is what I've been saying since 2016. Come get my vote. Guess what? They won't do it. They won't do it for people like me. They won't do it for Muslims. They won't do it for Hispanics. I'm pretty sure they lost Hispanic. 25% of black males voted for Donald Trump. They won't do it they won't come get anyone's votes. The Democrats won't do anything to get your vote.
can I see the clip again?
Yeah, let's watch.
It's a state that I think Democrats definitely were
North
reaching
Carolina.
for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campus, which were really thick and really packed, to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can you say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state. And I thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had,
they staged and planned protests in these areas to create division and reinforce biases. They paid people to attend these events, and social media influencers. They pushed a woke, ridiculous agenda in Ivy League schools, like other schools as well. But I'm just saying, like, they have destroyed like what little there was left of the education system in the U.S. Because again, like, they're still teaching glow birth stuff and evolution and so many things that are incorrect. But being able to know what a man versus a woman was, like people had that down, right? Those locked in, I thought, but apparently not. And the critical race theory stuff that's causing more racism and division. Anyway, there's so much. Like the cost of everything has gone up. There's you name it. This has nothing to do with skin color and everything to do with the fact that she's been vice president now for almost 4 years. And she was involved in, just as Joe Biden, and she admitted herself that she's been in every single decision, including the border fiasco with illegal immigration. And then people know they're cheating. They know, most people now know that January 6th was staged and planned by the deep state people, and that Nancy Pelosi and people on the Democratic side were very much more involved. Some Republicans, yes, because again, left and right, same bird. But this was the stolen election, like not showing the truth about the Russia Gate hoax, or like the Russia hoax. It's just, there's so much. It's a Hunter Biden laptop. Like there's so much, and she's wondering why people aren't voting for her. I can't. I just don't understand it. And it's only because there was billions of dollars thrown at the Democratic Party to sway voters that they even got as close as they did, because this has been a dumpster fire, ladies and gentlemen, an absolute dumpster fire of a term
in the suburbs. And I think we have to be blunt about why.
And sorry, and I'm going to go again. I've said this before, where there's like a phased and controlled phase out of democracies that I was predicting for the last few years, and how they do it, where it's like the frog in the pot. You don't realize, there's no escape until it's too late. And so this could be, and where we'd be begging for an option. and to some people, Trump is seen as some kind of a prophet in so many different religions and ethnicities around the world. You'd be surprised. And so I don't know. Is this part of the psyops as well, right? Where it was just so bad over the last several years that now we are celebrating possibly our demise. Anyways.
Why?
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not.
Excuse me.
That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This would be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it.
So I guess we're racist and sexist.
And if people vote more, party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's.
Okay, what?
What you just said? She's saying that these people are voting on race and gender. What?
While not protecting their gender.
Excuse me.
Correct me if I'm wrong. She just contradicted herself about 3 or 4 times in one sentence. She's saying that white women voted their. Wait, let's listen.
Really,
Let's-
but if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more, party line.
So if people, she's saying Republican, white women vote party line. That's what she means there. Now she says,
Or more on race than on gender.
Oh my God.
oh, so if they vote for the white
my God.
person, but then she mixes gender in there. That doesn't. No, if they were voting on gender, they would have voted. White women would have voted for Kamala. So she's contradicting herself there. So she's calling white people. She's saying they're voting on their race. That's what she's saying.
So it couldn't possibly
people
be a class issue. Though.
No,
She's
couldn't.
not even at all.
Couldn't
acknowledging
possibly.
It'd be about class.
The people who voted for Barack Obama overwhelmingly twice are now going to go back to voting on race.
And on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
To do the right thing.
It's almost
There's,
like
not-
she was.
there's nothing else you could do. Well, you could stop funding a genocide. You could stop
Yep.
crushing unions.
Mhm.
You could bring clean water to Flint. You could help the people of East Palestine. You could help the people who were wiped out in that hurricane.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Puerto
You could help the
Rico.
people who were wiped out in Lahaina. You could, I don't know, bring high speed. You could stop funding Ukraine and invest that money back in America. I bet all those things, just one of them would have won you the election. Just one of them.
Yep.
You could do that.
But for some reason, she cares more about terminating pregnancies beyond 3 months. Like there's exceptions for obviously the life of the mother. That's already there's a law everywhere, and there's yeah. Like why is she so focused on like women being able to what I think would be after 24 weeks? It's in my humble opinion, you are terminating a life. Okay, that's how I was taught it in my science classes, where in Canada it's 24 weeks, in the US it might be 25 weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when if the baby is outside of the womb, it still has high chances of living. Okay, with the separation of the umbilical cord being separated from the mother, and not needing the mother again to sustain its own life. And so that's so they're pushing for like even at 36, 39 weeks, at babies being what I think to be murder. This is happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening. And yeah. And there's already protocols in place for if it's about the mother's life, then they will terminate, right? And but that I think should be the only case. Anyway, 12 weeks seems to be reasonable for both sides. Like I still can't wrap my head around why the left and right just can't. Anyway.
Or you could run another neocon, puppet of Wall Street and the war machine, and then go, oh, stupid whitey. Won't vote for a puppet of Wall Street and the neocon war machine. Must be because they're race. Wow, that is quite a clip.
I have to say that while you're playing the clip, I don't know if you noticed that Ari Melber turns to
12. Some people say argue 12 to 16 weeks. Some people argue 6 weeks.
Stephanie Rule at one point. So, oh, what's going on?
Did he?
Yeah, if you watch it. And then
No.
Rachel Maddow has her head down
No.
during it.
It's a state that I think
Wallace-
Democrats
they know
definitely
she's-
were reaching for. There was a lot.
Because they know Joyanne Reed's going to go off on some stupid and make it about race.
Well, watch that. Watch their body
Let's
language, I
watch.
guess.
Let's
work
watch.
to try
Let's
to
watch.
turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed. And I hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and a thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in
You hear?
that
That was Rachel Maddow.
is that if you
Yeah, Trump, he's definitely a legend. I'm not going to lie about that. There's no doubts. I mean, the election results, just really, correct if I'm wrong. I know that everything's not official yet, but did he not win every friggin' swing state? And he needed Pennsylvania to make it a sweep. Not a sweep, but to make it where it was locked in. And yeah, it was very interesting. Very interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. And Logan's talking about that. I might share it, but she's talking about also warning us of lefties going to be losing it for the next few months.
Oh,
can't
she went
flip
there,
enough
just said we
white
thought.
women, and we've talked about this on this set
Wait,
numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or a 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
state
Yep.
where women
And
want
he won the popular vote too. So I guess for Republicans, that's incredible. So yeah, and now Republicans they have the majority in Senate, and so that is all record breaking stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, for Republicans. And so very impressive.
Says
their
so.
reproductive rights, where there was
Yep.
a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who's responsible for taking those rights
Oh my
away and
God.
restoring them. But that message obviously was
He's like,
not
she's
enough
doing it.
to get enough white
Jimmy
women to vote.
Jimmy Dore's going to play this clip, right? We all can pretend like we don't know who Jimmy Dore is, but that we do know now. What does K mean? Oh, okay.
For Vice President Harris, a fellow woman, this will be the second opportunity
Where's Rachel?
that white women in this country have to change
This is
the
the
way.
second time white women. Freaking white women. This is the second time.
Rewind it a little bit. She was just fine. See,
Oh,
she's
just-
looking down.
Oh, she's looking down.
Oh yeah, she will not have
Oh,
any
she's
part
just
of
like,
this.
oh, yep, this is not my deal. Okay. There we go. Crazy Joy making it about race again.
Women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women
A
in this
fellow
country
woman.
have.
That's
So
funny to say, though.
Joy's a famous homophobe, hates the gays. At least she didn't blame the gays. At least she didn't blame the gays and blaming the gays on the FBI.
I mean, is fellow woman a term that you can say? My
A
fellow.
fellow.
Okay, enough of that. I do want to share some stuff from my Instagram, just with the voting stuff. What effect will voter ID laws have in the 2024 election? This was very significant. I've shared this a few times, likely by now, but it shows you where like there's majority or where it's Democrat. Where it's majority Democrat, I'll say, in areas where there's no ID required. It's interesting to me, and we've been talking about that. Where could there possibly be the ability to have more election fraud in these areas because of the fact there's no ID required? So these are the states. This is the breakdown of photo ID strictly required. It looks to be like a very deep blue. So you've got these states where the mouse is going over now, which I think is a good thing. Non-photo ID strictly required. Even that, I mean, if you have like let's say two pieces of non-photo ID, like a medical card and maybe even a credit card, that could be enough. But I mean, some form of government issued ID, like a birth certificate, maybe as well. Photo ID required, but workarounds exist. You know, this is in like several states. Non-photo ID required, but workarounds exist. It's just very interesting, where the less regulations there are on ID requirements, it seems to be like it's more Democrat. And if you look at election polls, most Americans favor paper ballot backups, voter ID, weeks of early voting, making election day a holiday. I agree with that too. Making an election day a holiday. Yeah. Some people had DJs in where elections were being held. Like ways to promote people to get out and vote. Like I'm fully on board. I know there's a lot of people that watch this channel that don't believe that people should be voting because of the whole, like, what's the point? Left and right, same bird, same outcomes, all that stuff. I still think that not voting is it's making there to be more of a possibility of cheating, or by getting like the worst case outcome for the country in place for at least 2 to 4 years, because there's no accountability, right? So as soon as that person's locked in, it's almost impossible to get them out peacefully, and that's what you want, right? You want them to be fired, jailed. Anyway, requiring electronic voting machines to print a paper backup of ballot, 82% in favor. This was all majority in favor. Requiring all voters to show government-issued photo identification to vote. Making early in-person voting available to voters for at least 2 weeks prior to Election Day. Making Election Day a national holiday. Allowing people convicted of felonies to vote after serving their sentences. Allowing any voter to vote by mail if they want to. It's getting less there, though. Automatically registering all eligible citizens to vote. Allowing people to register on Election Day at the polls. So anyway, that was just interesting. Let's see what else I put there. Oh yeah, you gotta see this. You've probably already seen this, but it's hilarious. It's not missing.
You did, thank you.
Kamala just pretended to call a voter, but then accidentally showed her screen. She was on a camera app. Let's see what the third party says. Viral video does not prove Harris staged phone call with camera app open on phone. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Oh, interesting story about citric acid being derived from mold. Yeah, it's me on my deck. Okay, so this is from this morning. So, yeah, he won the popular vote and the seats. It's just incredible. Look at the flips. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia. Yeah. Walls' own state too. Hilarious. Like that's, come on. Let's see. This is the guy that I hope,
if you're a parent and you want
becomes a prominent figure in Trump's team.
to be a good parent, you need to do your own research about everything today, because Everybody's lying to you. Typical pediatrician's office makes about 50% of its funding comes from vaccines, not actually from selling the individual vaccines, from the traffic. And today, every kid goes to the doctor at least 10 times to get their vaccines. And that foot traffic in and out of the office is a major part of the business plan for the pediatrician office. And they're also then rewarded by Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has a reward schedule for pediatricians who vaccinate 80 or 85% of the kids in their office, get these giant bonuses, hundreds of thousands of dollars that they make, making sure that 85% of the kids are vaccinated. And that's why they throw you out of the office if you fight back. It's not because they care so much about your particular kid. It's that you'll throw off the metrics and you'll lose them their bonuses. Part of the responsibility of being a parent is, unfortunately, is to not trust everything your doctor says and to understand that the medical if you're a parent and you want to be, you need to do your own research about everything today, because everybody, typical pediatrician's office makes about 50% of.
Which is very interesting. Yeah, and that's just me sharing the screen capture of the Jimmy Dore show. Yeah, he's freaking great. I love him. All right. I wanted to get into some controversial stuff because Trump's in. Like, he's going to be January 20th official. It's going to be official when he gets sworn in. But is he going to fix, again, the big things? Is he going to shed light to the world? Okay, because he has a big platform and opportunity to do this. He's going to shed light to the world about things like this. This is going to be a video. I'm sorry for that in advance. I'll share the whole thing because I got another video to share as well.
Poisons are everywhere. They're in our food, they're in our medicine, they're in the water, they're in literally everything, our clothes, our beds, the floors. It's crazy, and it makes you think, oh gosh, yeah, gee, I wonder why cancer rates are skyrocketing. And well, we all know the reasons why that's happening. But fundamentally, though, everything around us, it seems like it's just trying to kill us. And so my journey in preparedness and as a husband, as a father, is doing everything possible to provide safety and a healthy environment for my family, including moving out in the middle of nowhere. I'm surrounded by the woods as one thing to make sure that my family's healthy, but there's certain things I can't control. I can't control these stupid planes chemtrailing us all day. It drives me up the wall. I can't control the water, what's coming out of the water. Now, we're on a well water and I filter through Berkey systems, but even still, I have no idea what's happening. And so I'm always looking for different ways of fixing this stuff and improving things like air and water and everything. And so joining us today is a brilliant guy. His name is Michael Dillon. He is the founder of this website, this company called Air Water Healing, which you go, Air Water Healing. That's a great idea. Basically, how do we make it so that our air and our water is healing us, not killing us? And so we're going to be deep diving into what happens on a molecular level when our air. See you here. Thank you, man, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Seth. Love your work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And I thought, oh wow, you're actually an inventor, and you're the founder of City Water. Let's just dive into where you see that we're at right now, because this interview is taking place just before the election, will probably publish just after the election. There's insanity everywhere, and I think that for people to think that this is all going to be fixed in 4 years of Trump or 4 years of Harris, regardless of that, there's just no way. It's almost like our country, or really it's our world, it's like a body that has cancer in the bones, and you don't just fix it through trying to do some surface level stuff. Like, it's very fundamental where we're at right now. But I'll hand it over to you, because you were talking before we started recording about the flood and some things that I think are very interesting to me, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
One of the things that was most beautiful about my drive back from the North Carolina rally, where I had met you at, was I was driving through Georgia, and I went right past the exit sign for Jekyll Island. And I said, that'd be a great starting point to fixing America. Let's talk about the Federal Reserve. Let's talk about abolishing that. I said that would be a great part, but yet you don't see any party leaders talking about abolishing the Federal Reserve. You know, when you talked about the flood, you know, a couple minutes ago, I've always thought with a flood mentality, right? You know, although God said that he would never flood the earth again. And I love my shirt that I got from that rally. Somebody gifted me a beautiful rainbow shirt, and it says, "This is a promise, not pride." And I was like, that's so incredible. I wore it through the Grand Rapids airport, and I'm pleased as punch that I made it out alive, but I got a lot of dirty looks. I think you and I, Seth, both know that nobody's coming with a life raft.
Yeah.
So the food that we're eating, the water that we're drinking, we have to assume that everything has been poisoned. If we're not growing our own food, or like you said, distilling your own water, or filtering the water, there are so many mechanisms that is designed to keep us inherently sick. And it is a beautiful design on their part because it's a never-ending cycle. And, you know, I think you and I could sit here for probably 4 hours and talk about the powers to be and why the same hospital system that is owned, you know, by those who shall not be named, the same vaccine manufacturers and Costco and BJ's and Whole Foods now is all owned by the same conglomerate. So it's a never-ending cycle. And the sicker we are, the more profits that they continue to make. So I think what's beautiful about, and it's not just me, right? Air Water Healing is very, very small compared to what some of the other bigger companies are doing, and teaching people that there are solutions that you can take starting at home, right?
Okay. So I thought they'd get more into the science about this. This was a reaction video, but fluoride, chemtrails, and depopulation. Oh. Stop. It'd be nice if his team was actually focused on that, because with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, not so much. In fact, it got worse under their term. And denying it. Sorry, I'm just looking for the fun video I wanted to share, because it'd be really exciting if you started talking about this. If it plays. I played Level With Me and so many other videos from Hibbler. Well, this was posted over 3 years ago now. And if you haven't watched this one, you will enjoy it. Trust me. If it plays. Let's see if I stop sharing for both assist. I'll just reload it. Yeah, so January 6th, another thing, if that comes out, the reality of that, and, you know, people like David Lazarus and Harry Dunn and countless others finally exposed involved in this, would be amazing. More truths about the JFK assassination, more truths about 9/11, about what actually happened on October 7th, about what actually happened in Lahaina, and so many other areas. If this, like, I mean, if this came out under Trump's presidency, he would be clearly even more of a legend. Okay, it seems like the video is playing on my side, so I'll share it again. But I'm sharing this video because I have hope that within the next 4 years, it starts coming out mainstream.
Do you believe this is a real live recording? Do you believe? How about now? Does this make it more believable? Ask yourself, is this real?
Do you believe? Is this real?
Let's try this another way.
Breaking news. NASA finally did it. They finally did it. They're finally live streaming the Earth spinning from outer space. The world celebrating. The one will go down in history.
Convinced? Well, if you didn't fall for that, then why would you fall for this? Maybe you just never
Paid attention.
When you do pay attention, you start to notice things. Are you paying attention?
Attention.
Did you know that starting at the end of 2015 through 2017, flat Earth was one of the top search terms falling from nature about?
I'm a local rapper here in Denver, Colorado.
I want you to know the truth, so please don't shoot the messenger. It's a bitch, but this is how it is when you live.
I've been rapping for 20 years, just like anyone else. When you're a kid and you're really into music, you're into making music. Every kid looks in that mirror and fantasizes about being famous. And because I like to make my own music, I just decided, screw it. I'm going to make a YouTube.
That proves that the Earth, it's nowhere from GoPro can.
Started making the videos in 2014, early 2015. Started getting noticed. You're living in a world where there's fake people faking events on TV in order to move agendas forward, with the Earth being flat. I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. There was videos everywhere. There was videos of that doesn't have a fisheye using these cameras. That didn't have those. The horizon rose to eye level, which would be impossible on a ball that would be falling away from you as you rose up. There's people putting out top 10 NASA hoax videos, debunking the moon landing, picking apart NASA just left and right. It was awesome. Awesome time for YouTube between 2015 and 17.
Even Google mentioned it during their commercial. Why would Google know? Panicking. Platform they purchased 10 years ago was collapsing with truth. The powers that be would not allow that.
We want to provide users with authoritative information.
I'm sorry, I only have a minute.
Like I started, there's people here, same thing that I have concerns with as well. And this is from Dan. Trump is in bed with Musk by the looks of it. That's like top 3 on my list of concerns, as well as in the industrial complex. And I don't know, he is getting a monopoly on a lot of different social media platforms as well. You know, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Yeah, the groups that he's connected with as well. There's just, yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't really need to hear what you're trying to provide. I want to know how you're dealing with all these conspiracy theorists on your platform.
So the first way is by demoting low quality content and promoting more authoritative content. And the second is by providing more transparency for users. So we're introducing boxes that provide factual information at the top of results that have shown themselves to turn up a lot of information that is counterfactual, such as searching for the earth is flat on YouTube, where you see a lot of.
Your response is to put a box saying, nope, the earth is not flat.
Correct.
Okay.
So instead of deleting all of the millions of videos we have made, they simply decided to bring in their puppets to reiterate the agenda at stake.
We are already sufficiently motivated to invest the necessary resources and people in addressing this threat.
You can tell it's real because it looked so fake, honestly.
The earth being flat is getting out of control. Can you please help?
When you stand, this is conspiratorial, but I've been saying this is the beginning. People are blaming, anyways, I'm gonna upset people. People are blaming Jewish people for everything that's going on and all of these different states and plans, events throughout history. And I'm saying if you're gonna blame a group, I say that it's the people that go to Grove, Davos, like the Bilderberg types, people that are high up in the military, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, including like the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller types, the Bill Gates types, and the people that are like the princes and the royalty, and in so many different countries, they're more affiliated with the Jesuits than they are with Jewish people. And I know people are saying, but Don, there's like there's Jewish Jesuit. Oh, sorry. Anyways, that's another thing too. I'm thinking about Zionism right now, because with Zionism as well, people think that that's strictly Israeli, but there's more Christian Zionists than there are Zionists, and there are people that are not Jewish and not tied to the Jewish, whatever you want to call it. Some people think that being Jewish is like its own race. I don't subscribe to that, but yeah, I'm caught off guard with this a little bit, so I'm trying to explain myself in a way that makes sense. But and I barely slept, obviously, because like the election ran through the night and it was only called early morning. But yeah, I think that there's people that are being played within certain religious groups, including people that are Jewish, unfortunately, and yeah, and it's by people that don't even care any of the religions. And there's some people that are more subscribed to the Satanist religion. And again, this is not about devil worshiping. This is about they have like the 4 rules that they kind of go by for Satanist groups, and it's self-preservation. So it's for themselves or their friends and family, their close network. And this is by any means necessary. And number 2 is there's no right or wrong. And they're not subscribing to like things like they don't subscribe to any of that stuff. Like there's no right and wrong, which means that you can murder, you can, there's no age limits, all of that stuff. And they believe in social Darwinism and eugenics, and the Satanists. And so I don't know, and I don't necessarily think that someone with that much prominence would be ruled or swayed by one specific religion. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know.
The shoulders of those who came before. You might just see far enough to realize the earth isn't flat.
1 + 1 is
2.
what color is the sky?
Blue.
And the earth is
Round. Second is here.
This club celebrates flat earth theory that is spreading ironically around the
World and its possible roundness.
Spinning.
Now they are talking about it. They want you to search for it, because they already changed their algorithm to be set up in their favor.
For sure. Like I don't like I've been wrong on things before as well. Like I just think kind of like what you resist persists. And like there's been so many different committees and legal, I'll say, teams that have been put in place that are targeting people, even if they're not anti-Semitic at all. Like there are people that are going hard after people that say anything that is even seen as a little bit going like questioning the reality of the world, including what's going on in Israel and Palestine, right? Like I've been friggin' I've been blacklisted. I've been shadow banned. I've had my accounts deleted, even just for what I've shared about the truth about what happened. Like I said, like last year, I'm not an anti-Semite, but I was definitely getting fucking like the most hate from all sides was coming to me from that. It wasn't COVID, which I got a lot of hate for that for years and still do, but not as much anymore. My views on so many different things, but like I will say that talking about what's going on in Israel, oh my God. And yeah, and so like I'm fully agreeing that that there's just, and it's because people like feel justified in just squashing any remnants or semblance of like what could be seen as like anti-Semitic. And yeah, so like, and even in Canada, we have like teams that have been created, like law enforcement teams that even in the last 2 years alone that are specifically targeting people that are considered to be that could possibly be anti-Semitic. These are anti-Semitic teams that have been created, and it's like there's there's a lot you can see, like the Christians are targeted, Muslims are targeted, you name it. So many different groups, Zionists, Satanists, across the board. But you are right, and I think that this is also part of. It seems to be working, but it seems to like create more hostility and hate and tensions towards that group. So are they doing it themselves, or are there other people that are playing everyone and making it where we're so focused on that we're not seeing that maybe, when I talk about like the jar of red and black ants, if you don't do anything to the jar, they're not attacking each other or they're not doing anything. They're just like living in that jar together, and whoever shakes the jar, they start attacking each other. They like the black ants will kill the red ants, and the red ants will kill the black ants. And again, like it had nothing to do with anything other than the person that shook the jar is the one that created the chaos within. And yeah, so I don't know.
Favor.
And I've been wrong before. So and there's a lot of smarter people than me that are making the assessments that are being made on the comments on YouTube and X. And so yeah, I'm definitely open to that.
Is this trash? None of this tells you our side of the story. These are all videos they put together, so you can watch and learn nothing. Nothing that any of us would show you. Like here, have you ever seen a time lapse of the sun? Does it look like the Earth is rotating backwards and the sun is still? Or does it look like our sun is simply moving across our sky?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro. He was on. Sorry, I'm getting another interesting. I like the dialogue. Like I'm not going to hide away from uncomfortable conversations. And because I don't have an ego in this, right? Like I would rather know the truth and have these conversations than that are secular. They identify themselves as a race. You're actually right. And so they are insanely overrepresented in every facet of power and power and degeneracy. They are a big problem. So there are multiple stats out there. So you're not wrong in that, where they are definitely overrepresented in government in the U.S. Especially. So them, and what was I going to say here? Yeah, and so Ben Shapiro, he was on Jubilee, and it was when he was debating 25 Democrats. And one of the was confused by that, because he said he was Jewish, and then she made a comment about being white. He's like, I'm not white, I'm Jewish, and she's identified themselves as a race, not by skin color. So yeah, so these are all things that he's smart on so many different things, but he's also very informed in so many other things. Even with last year when he was inciting as that charred photo that he put out there, and it was AI generated. It was fake, and just like Mate had said, and so many other, there's no proof of these alleged horrific rapes and beheadings and burning of babies during the October 7th attack. Videos from then on Rumble. You're not going to find it on YouTube because I'm on account number 10 million, but on Rumble, that seems to be where I would recommend people put most of their content if they're content creators. And yes, I would agree with what November just said. Ben Shapiro is a little gremlin. And and the nerve, like all the heat that he had on Candace Owens. Oh my God. Anyway. Yep. But he's, and then even Dr. Jordan Peterson. Like, there are people that are too, like, it's, I don't know. I think that this is more of a class war than anything, but we're rich.
Again, but with some inversion, you can clearly see the sun not only decreasing its size, but heading towards its next destination with a slight turn before it disappears from your line of sight. While Google would make sure when you type in "flea," the science...
We're told that the sun is a massive ball of burning gas 93 million miles away. But if that were true, then all the light that arrives here would be parallel because it's so far away. And it has to be parallel because one of the most often cited supposed globe proofs is Eratosthenes' experiment between Alexandria and Syene, by which he calculated is that that's not what we see. If you go out on a sunny day with broken cloud, what you'll see is that light comes down at angles, diverging angles. And that means that we can follow those light rays back to the source and triangulate the sun's height above the Earth, proving that the sun isn't million elements, can be recreated with a light source that is small and close.
Goes up, the more the sun rays would spread out and become parallel. The reason you'd even think that the sun...
the Earth was flat, wouldn't it be sunny all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, have they ever even thought about it?
Well, if you'd let me finish, the reason you'd even think the sun would be visible from anywhere on Earth...
David Murphy, I was just thinking, literally, that how amazing it would be if Candace Owens had him on her show. Like, that'd be, they can get great flat Earth representatives on these shows. Yeah. How we think about
It's because of the images they have shown you. No one promoting this stands for truth. You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball 93 million miles away.
You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball.
While we keep experimenting to try and figure out what the sun actually is and how close it could be. With a local hotspot, it should be easy to comprehend that the sun is small and
2 meters wide in a completely dark room. And you're holding a small but very bright light bulb, 3.4 millimeters across. And you were holding it about 31 centimeters above the table. What you'd see is a circular pool of light directly on the table, beneath the light bulb. If you're on the you'd see the light, above the table. That part of the table is in darkness, meaning that the light isn't physically reaching the tabletop.
Your senses are correct.
We're also told that the sun sets because as the Earth rotates us away from the sun, it's actually obscured by the physical curvature of the Earth. That's not what we see.
What we see is a local sun that is taking its local light with it. What happened to the horizon glowing across half of the world? Most sunsets are already fading through pollution, dander, chemtrails, and fog. Plus, refraction will always make the sun seem like it's going down, as well as your perspective.
It would appear to sink down in your field of view. That's perspective.
Okay, I'm going to pause this because there was a video. I was not going to show it. Actually, before I do, I'm going to have to get off of YouTube. Yeah, I'm going to have to get off of YouTube. You can follow me on Rumble.